In 2024, the United States imported a record 4.6 billion pounds of beef. Much of it was repackaged under labels calling it American. We've compiled 8 findings about what's really in your ground beef, from labeling loopholes and DNA studies uncovering undeclared meat to international scandals and ingredients most shoppers never heard of. Each entry reveals something the packaging won't. It begins with one question: what does American beef actually mean? Number 1, the record-breaking surge of beef imports in 2024 set the stage for a fundamental shift in the American meat aisle. That year, the United States brought in 4.6 billion pounds of beef and beef-derived products, a 22% jump over the previous year, and the highest total ever recorded. Canada and Australia led the pack, each shipping over 800 million pounds, while Brazil's shipments surged by more than 50%, making it a top supplier of lean trimmings. These trimmings, often low-cost byproducts, are blended into ground beef at U.S. processing plants. Under the old voluntary rules, any beef processed or packaged domestically, no matter where the animal was raised or slaughtered, could legally wear a Product of USA label. For shoppers, that meant a package could appear fully American, even if much of its content had traveled thousands of miles. This loophole left consumers in the dark about what they were really buying and opened the door for imported meat to pass as homegrown. In second place, the 2015 repeal of mandatory country of origin labeling marked a decisive turning point for American meat buyers. Originally introduced in the 2002 Farm Bill, COOL required retailers to disclose where beef, pork, and chicken actually came from. That changed after a World Trade Organization ruling in December 2015 found that U.S. labeling rules imposed over $1 billion in costs on Canada and Mexico, opening the door for retaliatory tariffs. Facing international pressure, Congress moved swiftly, folding the repeal of COOL into the 2016 Appropriations Act. With one legislative stroke, the requirement to disclose the origin of beef, pork, and chicken vanished from store shelves. This policy shift erased a critical layer of transparency for consumers, allowing imported meat to blend seamlessly into the American supply chain. The confusion that followed was not just a matter of clever packaging, but the direct result of a legal and political decision that reshaped what shoppers could know about their food. Third on our list, the Big Four packers, Tyson Foods, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef, stand at the center of the American ground beef industry. Together, these 4 companies control roughly 85% of U.S. beef processing, a concentration that gives them outsized influence over which meat makes it to supermarket shelves. In the years leading up to the 2015 repeal of mandatory country of origin labeling, these firms poured millions into lobbying efforts, arguing that imported lean trimmings were essential to keep ground beef affordable. Once the rules changed, their dominance allowed them to blend foreign beef with domestic supply, package it in U.S. plants, and label it as American. This market power extended beyond sourcing to the very definition of what counts as real beef, shaping both price and perception for millions of shoppers. Their control over blending and packaging practices means that for many consumers, the promise of all-American ground beef is more a matter of marketing than of fact. Number 4, the Chapman University DNA study brought the debate over ground beef out of the realm of suspicion and into the world of hard science. Researchers collected 48 ground meat samples from grocery stores and online specialty distributors, then used DNA barcoding and PCR analysis to identify exactly which species were present in each package. The results were unsettling. 10 samples, over 20%, were mislabeled. Even more alarming, 2 of those contained undeclared horse DNA, a substance banned for human consumption in the United States. These findings weren't limited to obscure or imported brands. Problems appeared in both retail chains and online specialty sellers. The study's authors traced most of the mislabeling to intentional cost-cutting or cross-contamination during processing, highlighting just how easily non-beef meats can end up in products labeled as ground beef. For shoppers, this study delivered direct, measurable evidence that the label on a package doesn't always match what's inside, and that the risks of mislabeling extend far beyond the question of foreign origin. Number 5. Lean, finely textured beef, better known as pink slime, opened a new chapter in the debate over what counts as real beef. In 2012, an ABC News investigation reported that about 70% of supermarket ground beef contained this product. Lean, finely textured beef is created by spinning the last bits of meat from beef trimmings, then treating them with ammonia gas to kill bacteria. The result is a paste that can be blended into ground beef without any special label in the United States. While U.S. regulators have approved the process and declared the product safe, several other countries have restricted its use or require clear labeling when it appears in meat products. The controversy goes beyond questions of safety. It challenges the very definition of beef in the American market. For many shoppers, the idea that a legal product can be so far removed from what they expect ground beef to be is its own kind of deception, one that is perfectly legal but still deeply unsettling. Number 6, Brazil's Operation Weak Flesh exposed the hidden dangers in the global ground beef supply chain. On March 17, 2017, Brazil's federal police launched a sweeping investigation that reached deep into the country's meat industry. 33 government officials were suspended, 3 slaughterhouses were closed, and 21 plants were placed under inspection. The investigation uncovered a system where plant managers bribed health inspectors to secure export certificates for meat that failed safety standards. In response, the United States temporarily suspended imports of Brazilian beef in June 2017, citing concerns over food safety and regulatory oversight. Yet, the story didn't end there. Within a few years, Brazil regained its foothold, supplying nearly 1/5 of all U.S. beef imports by 2025. For American consumers, the scandal demonstrated just how easily foreign inspection failures can ripple through to grocery store shelves, especially in a market where imported trimmings are routinely blended and relabeled as domestic ground beef. Number 7, the distinction between ground beef and beef patties reveals just how much the fine print matters at the meat counter. Under federal standards, ground beef must be pure beef tissue with fat content capped at 30%. No binders, no extenders, nothing but beef. But the rules for beef patties are far more flexible. Manufacturers can legally blend in soy protein isolate, textured vegetable protein, water, seasonings, and a range of binders, ingredients that stretch the meat and, in some cases, lower the cost. These additions can quietly alter both the nutrition and the safety profile of what ends up on a dinner plate. Safety is not just a matter of ingredients, but also of what lurks within. A Consumer Reports investigation tested 300 ground beef packages from 26 American cities and found detectable bacteria in every single conventional sample. Even more concerning, 18% of those samples carried strains resistant to multiple antibiotics. For consumers, the label on a package may promise beef, but the reality inside is often shaped by legal definitions, industrial shortcuts, and microbial risks that rarely make it onto the front of the package. Number 8, the story of ground beef in America comes full circle with the sharp rise in prices and the renewed debate over what belongs on the label. By early 2025, the average price for a pound of ground beef hit $6.69, a record high that squeezed household budgets and signaled deeper trouble in the supply chain. Behind the sticker shock lies a shrinking United States cattle herd, now at 89.3 million head, the smallest since the 1950s. The beef cow segment alone dropped to historic lows, reflecting years of drought, rising costs, and growing reliance on imported trimmings. As the herd dwindled, the gap between what consumers pay and what ranchers earn only widened. Into this landscape steps the American Beef Labeling Act of 2025, a bipartisan push to restore mandatory country of origin disclosure for beef. If passed, the law would require every package to reveal where the animal was born, raised, and slaughtered, offering shoppers a measure of transparency that has been missing for nearly a decade. For millions of Americans, the fight over a simple label is about more than policy. It's about trust, value, and the right to know exactly what's in the food they bring home. Across all 8 findings, one fact stands out. What's labeled as American ground beef is often anything but. Behind every package lies a maze of imports, loopholes, and blurred origins. For consumers, the real risk isn't foreign meat. It's a system built on confusion, not transparency. Demand better at the counter.